Who out there wants to work for somebody who bounces from one meeting to another, who doesn't respond to their phone calls and emails? Yeah, who wants to work for somebody like that? Who wants to work for somebody like that? How many of you want to work for somebody who's like slightly unreliable and puts you under extinction and has you wondering whether they listened to the last thing you said, and so you suggested something in a meeting and they talked over you? Who wants to work for somebody like that? Yeah? How many of you? Okay, so, and how many of you are like that? Yeah? How many of you are disorganized lunatics who are just claiming you're too busy because it's the only form of reinforcement you can derive from, you know, your day at work? How many of you? So nobody wants to work for anybody like that, and nobody is like that, right? So that never happens. Yeah. So if that's true, then how come people come to our courses and the first opportunity they get to answer the question, you know, do you get what you want from your boss? Is your boss always calm? Do you get time from them? Can you get a meeting with them anytime? If you phone them up, will you get a response within 24 hours? Do they respond to you? Yeah. So why do people complain about this stuff all the time if nobody in the audience is doing this stuff? Yeah. It's not just happening a bit. Yeah. It's happening a lot, and it's happening almost everywhere. This is the virtual kind of view of our organization that we have against the real part of the organization that we have. So unfortunately, I think, the people who are the cause of this problem are the people who are reinforcing these other people to get away with what they're doing. When you're a supplier, you need to be looking at things from the perspective of the client. And likewise, when you're a client, you need to be looking at things from the perspective of the supplier, because there are still some people out there that believe that they can make things happen, yeah, because they're in contract or because these people are being paid all this money. And they believe that they can create conditions where they get exactly what they want and they can be mean at the same time, yeah, and that it won't have an impact on them up here. And as somebody said yesterday, when some bright spark said we're going to reduce overtime by 10% in an organization, what happened following that was overtime went up. Because the people down here are much smarter at creating overtime than these people are at stopping it. Yeah? And they didn't realize that, and they're the clever ones on the six-figure salary. Yeah? But they didn't realize that these people, if you want them to do something, doing it in a cooperative way, asking them, you know, asking their advice and stuff, is probably going to get you what you want. And just dictating stuff probably isn't.
Why is it so hard for people to do things you speak about and have written about?
99-point-something% of everybody's daily behaviours were something very similar to the behaviours the day before and the day before that and the day before that and the day before that. We have, over time, developed conditioned responses with all of the other people in our environments, at home and at work, and over time we've tuned them so that we can receive the maximum amount of reinforcers each day for ourselves. So this idea that somebody can walk in and say from now on everybody's got to do this is a very tough ask, because most people's behaviours are highly tuned. So if you observe them on a daily basis, you can very easily predict what they're going to do and how they're going to respond. Because we've spent all this time developing, I've spent all this time developing this way of life. Yeah. So, and because I know behavioral science, that means it's maximized my reinforcers for me in this given situation. Yeah. So, recognizing that is one thing. Finding some way of changing your environment will indeed inspire you to do that some more. So even if it's, you know, gosh, I keep forgetting to do things, even if it's using a technique called pairing. So I think, oh gosh, I haven't done the washing again, you know. I'm going to throw this pen into the middle of the living room, and when I see it, it will remind me to do the washing. Yeah, that's a behavioral technique called pairing. Yeah, it sounds like a silly example, but you could put something in the car that reminds you to think about doing something different tomorrow. You could put a banana on the passenger seat, and when you get in the car tomorrow, you sit and you look at the banana and go, that's there to remind me to do something different today. I know this sounds overly simplistic, but you have no idea how many people try this and ring me up and say, it's a miracle, you know. It's not a miracle. If you really want to, you can do those things because those things are in your control. I was at a conference in America, and they had the team of the year. And at the time, I was kind of, you know, I wasn't, you know, leading the team of the year, I hasten to add. So they had the Team of the Year award, and so there were 200 teams, and so the senior vice president said, anybody got any questions? So I put my hand up and said, what's the point in having one Team of the Year? Because what we've now got is 199 not Team of the Year, yeah? And it feels really subjective because I don't know anything about these guys, but their project's in Trinidad, which sounds a really nice place to work, yeah? And my project's in Warrington, which doesn't sound as nice as Trinidad. So I've suffered for my, you know. And the organisation, it took a couple of years, but the organisation tuned it out. It was amazing how they tuned it out, because then they went out and found out whether people were, you know, steamed up about it, and it turned out, you know, that the odds were that people weren't going to like it. So they stopped doing it. But I wouldn't say don't do it. I mean, yesterday, performance appraisals got voted into Room 101. If doing performance appraisals is great, do them. And if it's not great, don't do them. But don't just make the decision based on the idea of the antecedent. Try it out, get some feedback, do some analysis, and see if it's overall a positive thing. And if it's an overall positive thing, then do it. That's being scientific. Yeah? That's Zanussi, yeah? So that's the appliance of sciences. Don't either do things because they sound good or don't do things because they sound bad. Just give it a whirl and see if it works, and if it works, do it. And if it doesn't work, don't do it.
How do I stop my boss from micromanaging? Exclamation, 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 exclamation.
Say stop.
Stop it!
It's at the tail. It's a short tale of woe. In 1625, this is before the United States of America, so that's how long ago 1625 was.
Before history began.
Before history began for our brethren, for our brothers in arms. In Sweden, I was in Sweden last week and doing a talk and went to this museum and learned something, and the irony kind of hit me as soon as I walked in through the door. In 1625, the King of Sweden decided he wanted a warship, so he hired a shipbuilder who brought his team along to build this warship. So it was a galleon. And whilst they were building it, the king kept sending these notes down to the yard. Yeah, I don't want one gun deck. I want 2 gun decks. Yeah. I want some sculptures around the outside of the ship. Yeah, I want some more sculptures. Yeah, there aren't enough sculptures, kind of. So all these messages kept coming down. And it set sail on its maiden voyage, and they towed it out and put it into the harbour in Stockholm. They put 4 sails out, and the first puff of wind that came along toppled it over. So the ship was top heavy. So the designer designed a good ship, and the leadership interfered in various places along the way so much that the ship became a ship that was never going to sail and became unstable and toppled over and killed a bunch of people and sunk into the mud. So some things just haven't changed, have they? Corporate passed down all of these top-heavy things and made the vehicle unsaleable. So and there's been a lot of talk about initiatives and corporate initiatives, and yeah, but we've spent all this money on it, so we've got to make it work, kind of thing. Okay, no, yeah, it's not working, no, but we've got to make it work. So there are all these kind of metaphorical sunken ships in the car parks of these various businesses, of all of these things. But the postscript to the story is that in the 60s, they lifted this thing up, and because it was in brackish water, so it was pretty well preserved, and they've put it in this museum, and it looks amazing. It's had like 60 million visitors at whatever it was, 120 kroner a visit, you know, so they're making a fortune out of this shit now. It's a you know, and it's a sight to behold. But even for the unshipbuilding layman, you look at it and think, that looks bloody top heavy, that thing.
Very well done. Good job.